Okay, my goal for you guys for today is that by the end of the hour, you're going to be able to write intervals. That would be like, for instance, from 2 to 10, and you have to do that in 2 different ways that we do it in precalc. And then we're going to be basically writing equations for lines, kind of like we did in that first week, except these are just a little bit of a step up. We use variables in there instead of just numbers. Instead of just saying, you know, the points are 2, 3 and negative 3, 7, we're going to step it up so it'll be like x, 3 and negative y, 5 or whatever. You'll have to write an equation when you have variables in it. All right, so that's what you're going to learn, and let's start with the interval thing. Do you get how a daycare might say, we've got a few openings, we can take kids between ages 2 and 10? All right, what if they want to mean that they want the kids to be less than 10? Well, all of a sudden you could write it like this, from 2 to 10, and you could say that your age needs to be like this. Would that mean between 2 and 10? Yes, but it's all about the details. So can you be 2 then, according to this? No. What if I put that? Now can you be 2? Yes. Okay, can you be 10? No. And if I put this, now you could be 10. You get the difference? Now there's an official way to write that, and we write it like this. 2, 10 with brackets on it would mean that. Would you write that example down for yourself? You can write either one of those 2 ways and mean the same thing. The brackets mean or equal to. Pencil. Actually write that. All right. And if you're taking notes and you want to like label your notes for what it is today, first of all, I'd have the date on there, which by the way is 9/11 if you haven't noticed. And then the title of it would be P1/P4 is the like lettering we're going to use for this topic, but it's about intervals and about writing equations. All right. So now, let's see if you really understood what I just said there. It's very quick, but maybe some of you already totally get this. What if I'm going to I'm going to have a club where drinking is going to be allowed? What would I post as the allowed ages? If drinking is going to be allowed in Minnesota, what's the rule? 21, so how would I write it? I'd like you to write it this way, and I'd like you to write it with one of these kind of a things. So something like this. This is totally wrong, but if you thought that was right. One way is with signs that called inequalities, and one way is called interval notation. This is called interval. This is called inequality. And what I'm asking is, if I was going to open a club that was going to allow drinking, how could I put that into interval or inequality notation? Thank you. All right. So if I'm going to allow drinking, what's the small end of my n? 21. Is it like this, greater than 21? Can you be 21? Yeah. So I'd say or equal to. And then what's the top end? What if there is no top end? What do you put? Infinity. So you'd say less than or equal to infinity. I know, in the real world. But what are you going to do? Put a limit on the top and say that it has to be 120, and then if you're 121, you can't drink anymore? So, all right. So now, how about the other end? If I was going to make it with parentheses, 21, and I can be 21, bracket. What if I could not be 21? It would be a parentheses. Learning little things at a time. Infinity. Why did I put a parenthesis around the infinity? Because you cannot be infinity. You'll never get there. You cannot be that. So there's always parentheses around an infinity. All right, next example. Let's say that you wanted to take people that are at this birthday party, and you see a bunch of little kids because it's for your little sister, and there's kids, it looks to you like their kids are between ages 8 and 12, okay, and you know there is, the oldest anybody is 12 because it's the 12-year-old's birthday party, and it's their birthday today, okay, so, and you're not sure about the 8, they might be 8, they might be, you know, a little older than 8, but, you know, probably nobody's exactly 8, but, so how could you write this? Write it both ways. I'll describe it again. You know 12 is the oldest anybody is because they turned 12 today. And all the other kids are younger. And you know nobody's younger than 8. And you're not sure about the 8 itself, like anybody's actually exactly 8. They're probably a little older than 8. Because if you're 8.2 years old, you're still called 8, right? Yes. Good question. Yes. If you, well, put it this way. Your signs are pretty much always going to go like that. Okay? Now, in this kind of a problem. But there are situations where you'd say, I want to be bigger than 8. So that's like this. And I also want to be bigger than 12. And that's going to be weird if I go like this. And think about that. If you're bigger than 8 and bigger than 12, or you're just bigger than 12. So usually you see it with only one sign going this in one direction, like this, or like if you go the other way. Is that even okay? Is that possible to have it that way? Like if I pick a number like 10, is 8 bigger than 10, which is bigger than 12? 10 didn't work, but is there any number you could put in there that would work? 8's bigger than 4, which is bigger than 12. Is that even possible? You'll never see that one. All right. Usually we have less than signs in between there like this. All right, so back to my problem. What I said about 12 is I said for sure the oldest kid was 12. So I'm going to say it could be 12. All right. And n is bigger than 8. 8 is the oldest. Now this one was, maybe there was an 8-year-old there though, so shouldn't I say or equal to 8? Okay. And if I'm going to do that, then it's going to be 8 and a 12 here. And can it be 8? Yeah. Can it be 12? Yeah. All right, I'm going to give you one where it's different on one end than the other. Okay, on this one for sure, there are no 20-year-olds at the party. But there are people that are a little over 20, like 20-and-a-half-year-olds, okay? There are no 20-year-olds. But there is an 80-year-old at the party. And they're the oldest. It's party for the 80-year-old. How would you write it in 2 different ways? Okay, so you put an n between them. And then you'd see that it has to be bigger than 20, I said. And so n is on the bigger side. The alligator eats the bigger one, right? So and this is a less than sign, but it's 20 is less than n, which means n is bigger than 20. And then this end, it said it could be an 80-year-old because there is an 80-year-old there. Less than or equal to 80. Then if I'm going to do it the other way, 20, 80 with a comma. Should this be a bracket or a parenthesis? Parentheses and bracket. Okay? All right. Now, let's go this way. What if I give you one and I say 13 bracket 30 parentheses? Do you know what that means? If you do, write it with an inequality. Something is less than n, which is less than something. Tell me what you think. Do you really mean that? Okay. Perfect. And I don't need a parenthesis. Sorry, that's the other way. Do you agree? Am I recording? Yeah. Thanks for asking. I'm still recording. Okay. You can see the numbers are moving there. So, okay. I think you're getting this. Now, how about if it was a picture? So, let's say it was a curve here and a bracket right there. Do you get what they're trying to say? You get that it's between 15 and 20? Can it be 15-year-olds there? Yes. Would there be any 20-year-olds there? No. Okay. Usually you fill in between like this too. Okay, so that's a third way to do it. But you have to be able to see it on a picture and be able to say, oh, well that means from 15 to 20, and it can be 15-year-olds, it can't be 20-year-olds. Or if they ask for an inequality, you'd have to be able to say n is between 15 and 20, and you no, I'm wrong. You put less than signs. And then you just got to decide or equal to or not. That one's an or equal to because it's a bracket. It can be 15. And that's it. Any questions on that? That's called interval notation. It's supposed to be easy. Nothing really complicated here. Just a way to give you answers. Yes? Are they always going to be going that way? Like between the two? Yeah, I get what you're saying. So what happens if, I just want to make sure you were good with the easy one. So let's say we go 5 to 10 and it's going like this. And this. Bracket and the parenthesis. Now to write it as one statement, that'd be pretty tough. But you can write it as two statements. So this one, just this one right here. Do you get by having this arrow going off to forever that it means that it can go forever that way? Okay. So how am I going to write that with a parenthesis and a bracket thing? Well, there's a 5 on this end. That's easy to tell. And it's got a bracket on it, so there's going to be a bracket. What if it can go forever to the left? What's over there? Negative infinity. Very good. And will I ever get to negative infinity? So it's always a parenthesis around an infinity. And then the other one is from 10 to what's forever that way? Infinity. Good. And then I'll never get to infinity. Can it be 10? No, because I have a curve here. So curve. And then how do I say this and this together are my answer? If you want something to go together, do you get that that's a union? Have you ever heard of that? Okay, Mrs. C, I need your full attention with me now. Thank you. If you want these both to be together, a union, a U, is what we use. A U means the union of. That means this one and this one together. It's like the union of the United States of America. That means that we're all joined together in this big group. Okay, well this is the one is being joined together in a union with that. Union means you join together. All right. So now all we have left is that part about finding slopes and stuff. And we warned you you'd need to be able to do this with the easy stuff. So let's make sure you get the easy kind one last time. What's the slope of that? Figure it out. Write it down. Should be easy peasy for you. Zip, zip. Most of you were fine on the slope part on the quiz. Negative 10 minus 3 over 5 minus 2. Okay? Negative 10 minus 3 would be negative 13 over, what? Am I paused? No, I'm recording. All right, we got to get straight how you can tell if I'm recording or not. If I pause it, all right, so you can tell I'm paused if the numbers are not moving. So if it's disappeared like this, if it goes down there, it's still recording. If I ever pause it, that little thing will pop up to the top of this desktop here, and it'll be stopped. The numbers won't be moving. Okay? So thank you for asking, but I was continuing to record. Okay, moving down. 5 minus 2 is 3, and there's my slope. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Awesome, and now the harder part of that is to write the whole equation, y minus the y sub 1. Now, which one do I pick? You can pick. I'm going to choose this one because it has no negatives, and it won't screw me up then. Y minus the 3, because that's the y, equals the slope, which is negative 13 over 3, times x minus the x, which is 2. Raise your hand if you followed that. You're totally with me. Okay, good. So when I change it to this, let's just make it simple for now. Say it's like that. What's going to change? Is the slope going to change? Yeah, it's going to have a letter in it. It's okay. It has a letter in it. Do it the same way. Negative 10 minus 3 makes what? Negative 13 over 5 minus x. That's negative 10 minus 3. 5 minus x. What do I put? 5 minus x. So yeah, it's got an x in it. So sometimes our slopes aren't super clean anymore. Now they look like this. Okay, so there's the slope. And if I go y minus the y sub 1, if I were forced to use this point to make it more challenging because it's got the variable in it, y minus the y sub 1, y minus the 3 is equal to the slope times x minus the x sub 1. What's the x sub 1? X. Ooh, that's weird because we're using the same exact letter as we had before. So should we say x minus x is 0 and make 0 cancel that out, and then the answer is just y equals 3? That's not a good idea, because this x and the other x are actually different variables. They just happen to be. You can do x1 and x2 for two x's, or you can make one a capital X and one a small x, but it's really hard to tell them apart. So it'd probably be smarter if I had just started with an n, and that way I couldn't have screwed that up and thought that I was supposed to take x minus x. All right, so I'll use an n for that in the problem. And then this should be an n too. And that should be an n also. Okay, I'll be smarter next time. All right, and last thought is parallel versus perpendicular. You remember, if we get a slope and our slope comes down to like 2/3, if we want to have a line that's parallel to that, we want to have the same slope. There's a line. Here's one that's parallel to it. Doesn't even matter. If I made the exact same number, though, it'd be the exact same line as the other one, and that'd be weird. So I need some number to be different. So its y-intercepts are different, but they have the same slope, so they're parallel. What if they're perpendicular? Then I'd change this to be what? Reciprocal, which is 3/2, and something else. Negative, yes. Now, could they have the same y-intercept and still be different lines? Yeah, because if you think about it, if they're going through 5, one of them is going this way, and the other is going exactly 45 degrees, so that this makes a right angle. They're going opposite directions. They're going through the same spot and the y-intercept like that. So that is possible. Okay, these two are called perpendicular lines. All right, that's it. That's all the new stuff for today. Now, that's a good thing. We made it a light day so that we can talk about the tests too. But that's all the new stuff I have for you. I can stop the recording and hand out these worksheets. Okay, I might continue just a little bit because I want to do the first problem of the homework on the recording. So here we go. Number 1. Number 1 says -1 with a bracket. It's not a 1, that's a 7. -1 with a bracket, comma 1. But what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to make, is that a parenthesis? Yeah, it's a parenthesis. Okay. I'm supposed to write it or use an inequality to describe it. So in other words, that's that kind where you have an n and then a less than and a less than, and then the numbers, which are -1 and 1, and that's pretty easy. What's wrong with what I said, though? Which one gets the equal to line? The -1, because it can be -1. And so if it can be -1, I say or equal to -1. Very good. You write those kind of things for problems 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When you get to 6, 7, and 8 are also similar to that. Let's do number 15 together. Flip it over to the back side. Do one like that. We got a point of 1, 2. We got a line of y equals. We've never had a point and a line given to us, or maybe we have once or twice. Find an equation for the line passing through the point and parallel to the given line. You're, of course, going to use this. And I hope you've memorized it by now and you're feeling pretty good about it. So now we have this point of 1, 2, and we have a line, y equals 3x minus 2. This can give me the point, 1, 2. This can give me something else. It's not giving me the point. What's it giving me? The slope. It's giving me the slope is 3, so it's giving me a point and a slope. That's what this is good for. It's called point slope. So now just figure out the slope, stick it in there. Figure out the point, stick it in there. You got your answer. That's all there is to it. And yes, it might get a little more challenging by the end because sometimes they aren't solved for y. Like what if this had said 5y equals blah, blah, blah. Then this isn't the slope anymore. Okay, so when you put the 1 and the 2 in, the 1 and the 2 are the x and the y. So this is the x, this is the y, and they go in here and here. Okay. You get how this 1 here is the x, so I'm going to put it there. 1 goes in there, 2 goes in there. And the slope from this, which is right there, slope of 3, goes right there. That's it. Stick those numbers in the right spots and you got it. That's all there is to it. You got to have this thing memorized. And then they're going to throw some different twists and turns at you, but you should be able to handle it. Okay, now I'm officially stopping the video.